It up, shot won't fall. Wilson, what looks like over the back. Well,
Oh boy.
Jump ball is the call.
Wow. Stephanie White's upset about that. I thought that was over the back. Wow. Watch this. That's a jump ball?
So apparently that was a jump ball. At least that's what the official score sheet claims. You know the play, where Lexie Hull boxed out perfectly, staking her ground like every basketball manual teaches, only for Asia Wilson to come barreling right over her back, hacking at the ball. According to the refs, that was somehow a 50-50 ball. But you saw it. The broadcast crew was floored. The coaches were losing their minds. And for thousands of fans watching at home, it was the moment a sneaking suspicion finally crystallized into hard truth. This wasn't just a random bad call. This was the spark that set off an entire powder keg. It was the undeniable snapshot of a problem players and coaches have been quietly raging about for months. Thanks to this one viral clip, the door is now blown wide open, and calls for an official investigation are gaining ground.
But this was a big win for the Fever because the Aces were the only team that they had not won at least one game to last season, meaning the Aces swept the Fever last season. They actually haven't won a game against the Aces in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark. This team is crazy. They are beating the #1 team in the league first, and then they go and beat the Aces, who they haven't won to in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark, which is just a testament to how this team is finally developing a rhythm.
The players are officially over it, and the league is starting to take notice, especially given the collective bargaining agreement. You can see it on the court in their exasperated reactions, hear it in the edge of their voices, and watch it in the coaches who are practically bursting out of their dress shoes. This isn't just frustration over a single missed whistle. This is an unspoken revolt against a league that has let sloppy, biased officiating run unchecked for far too long. Today, we're piecing together exactly how this play became ground zero for a rebellion, using the league's own evidence to show how deep the rot goes, and why the WNBA is staring down a credibility disaster it can't afford to shrug off. If you're sick of sugarcoating and want the real story, slam that like button and let us know what you think of the corrupt referees. Let's go. All right, let's rewind and break down the moment that broke the internet.
And Asia Wilson, my God, you see how many free throws that lady have? Oh my God, on the stat sheet, she had basically 30 points, but all the free throws this woman got, man, they tried their best to keep the Aces in the game, man, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter, man. They destroyed the Aces. About freaking time the Fever finally beats the Aces, man, and without Caitlin Clark.
Even the commentators, professionals who usually dance around criticism, were tripping over their words trying to process it in real time. Because at its core, this play was ridiculously simple. Every kid who's ever strapped on sneakers knows this. You get between your opponent and the basket, you box out, that is your space, period. Lexie Hull executed it flawlessly. She sealed Wilson off, locked down her position, and was in perfect rebounding stance. Meanwhile, Wilson skipped all that fundamental work. She lunged right over Hull's shoulders, made clear contact, and disrupted everything. That is the literal textbook example of an over-the-back foul. 99 out of 100 times, that's Indiana Fever ball. Easy.
It's a foul. It's a third. Lexie Hull, tremendous three, and leads the league at 50%, shooting the three, draws the charge.
Except, apparently not. Instead, the refs blew the whistle and signaled for a jump ball. A call so backward, so counter to every rule of basketball, it felt like time itself glitched. This wasn't a borderline judgment call. It wasn't some gray area scrap. It was a blatant foul that magically turned into a reward for the person committing it, giving the ball right back to Las Vegas off the possession arrow. And that was all it took. This short, crystal clear, impossible to defend clip instantly became the banner for every complaint fans have hurled at the officiating this year. It was no longer just gut feelings or scattered conspiracies. This was undeniable. And worse, it was only the most obvious example of something fans have been tracking for a while.
This defense is playing phenomenal. Oh my God, it's night and day. I think that Commissioner's Cup gave them swag. Now they're swagging it out. I never seen Natasha Howard so aggressive in my life. This girl is beasting now all suddenly. She is beast moding right now. And Timpson, the rookie, getting block shots, getting steals. Aaliyah Boston is just murking, destroying Aja Wilson. Man, you know, I got a Wilson. I got a nickname for Aja Wilson, guys. You know what it is? Whistle Wilson. Because this lady's always getting whistles. She's the person with the special whistle, guys. Every freaking time. And then she goes to the free throw line. Freaking free throw merchant. I think she's related to SGA. But anyway, she's not playing that great.
Because if you zoom out from that single play, it becomes part of a much bigger and uglier pattern. Fans even have a name for it. They call it Whistle Wilson. It's not just some joke on Twitter. It's practically its own grassroots data project at this point. The most devoted WNBA followers have been watching every Aja Wilson minute, like hawks, tallying up every soft foul, every forgiving no call. And this game laid it all bare. The numbers are staggering. Wilson alone went to the free throw line 13 times. The entire Indiana Fever, 12 players, 4 full quarters, combined for only 17. That means one player almost matched an entire team's free throw total by herself. Let that marinate for a second.
The Aces tried to put a little run together to start the third quarter, and Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull shut that shit down. They shut it down by hitting some big shots. All right, that steal led to the only 2 points that Sophie Cunningham had, but it was big. So right here, let's start Aaliyah Boston right here. That's Sydney Colson to Boston. She gonna drive into the lane,
Wilson.
and I've got to tell you, she gave Aja Wilson all she could handle.
And this isn't just internet chatter. It was happening live on the broadcast. The commentators themselves couldn't avoid it. Even when trying to stay measured, they admitted it outright. The whistles were leaning one way. One analyst summed it up with resigned honesty. They're trying to keep Vegas in it. Another chimed in, more cautious but didn't dispute it. Even the usually stoic pros were forced to acknowledge the elephant on the court. Superstars like Wilson get a totally different rulebook.
Aja Wilson, she got a favorable whistle in the second half, but it is what it is. Superstars get the whistle. Unless your name is, 29 points for Aja Wilson, 3 boards, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 9 for 18 from the field goal, from the field, 11 for 13 from the free throw line. Look at the rest of her team. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 6 points, 0 points, 4 points, 2 points, 3 points. Dana Evans, 1 for 10, Dana Evans. Oh my goodness.
Superstars get the whistle. They said it like it's just part of sports. But that acceptance is exactly what's rotting trust. Because if fans start believing the WNBA's biggest names are wrapped in invisible force fields of special treatment, it chips away at the very idea that the game is decided by talent and heart, not by who the officials feel like rewarding that night. That jump ball fiasco? It wasn't just one blown whistle. It was the chilling confirmation of every fan's worst fear, that results might hinge on biased officiating, not what actually happens on the hardwood. So tell me, do you buy it? Is the special whistle real? Drop your take below. I want to see where everyone stands.
Wilson crossing over. Wilson hangs. Wilson finishes.
Oh boy, here she comes.
See, Hull, a much-needed answer for Indiana.
See, after the miss, Hull on the floor again, finds Mitchell, right corner for 3. Good! It's Mitchell the other way for 2. 57-38 Fever with 3:35 left in the third quarter.
Becky Hammonds had enough.
But here's the twist that truly makes this a league-wide meltdown. It wasn't just Indiana sounding the alarm. This is where it escalates from a typical controversy into a full-scale crisis. Because the outrage wasn't just coming from the Fever's sideline, or from their loyal, increasingly furious fans. It was also coming from Las Vegas. That's right, the Aces, the very team benefiting from these lopsided calls, were just as fed up. Their head coach, Becky Hammon, was visibly annoyed, arms folded, glaring at the refs after bizarre whistles. Even when her team was on the winning side of this nonsense, she looked like she wanted no part of it. When Becky Hammon sat down for her post-game press conference, she didn't blame her players for getting muscled around. She didn't chalk it up to a lack of hustle or missed assignments. No, she laid the blame squarely where it belonged, on the referees who had completely lost control of the game. Her exact words were a stunner. She said flatly, "I thought they were grabbing and holding us. It's a rugby match, and my team doesn't want to play rugby back, so we got our ass kicked." Full stop. That is a bombshell statement. Think about it. This is the coach of the reigning MVP, whose team was getting every borderline call all night, outright telling the media that the officiating had let the game dissolve into chaos. When even the beneficiaries of the dubious whistles believe the refs have steered the ship off course, it's no longer about bias. It's about a total collapse of the league's ability to maintain a professional product.
Like I said, the referees were starting to get on the side of the Aces. They were trying to wheel the Aces back in, and Lexie stepped in and sort of killed it. Kelsey Mitchell never took her foot off the gas tonight, by the way. This is the best thing I've seen from Stephanie White all season long. Right here, she was aggravated by the refs already, and in the fourth quarter, 5:35 left, Stephanie White lost her shit on the sideline. She lost her shit. And let me just play this right here. Roll it.
Lost that lead late.
And you see her.
See on Caitlin
You
Clark.
see her just losing it up here. Losing it.
Wilson misses on
And
the
she
three,
got
and
teed
Stephanie
up
White
right
gets a technical
there.
on the sideline.
And Caitlin Clark loved it.
And while Hammon was fuming over the constant clutching and hacking that somehow never warranted whistles, on the other sideline, Indiana's head coach Stephanie White was staging her own very public protest. With just over 5 minutes to go and her Fever team up by more than 20, she finally snapped. She charged the ref, let them have it, and promptly earned herself a technical foul. This wasn't a meltdown out of frustration in a tight contest. This was a calculated explosion. A respected coach, on the cusp of one of her biggest wins, standing up in front of the entire basketball world to announce, "This is not okay." It was her way of letting the officials, and by extension the league office, know that this wasn't a legitimate basketball game anymore. And the reaction from her superstar point guard, Caitlin Clark, made everything crystal clear. Clark leapt off the bench, beaming, hand raised to give White a high five. That moment right there was a perfect snapshot of where this team's collective head is at. From the coaching staff down to the franchise player, they're all sick and tired of it. They're unified in their disgust at how these games are being officiated.
Guys, when did Indiana Fever turn into the best defensive team in the NBA? When? I mean, after that celebration from the Commissioner's Cup, we all thought they were going to come out here a little bit hangover. I mean, their defensive prowess has gone up 100%. In the first half, we have Aces down 22 points. We have only beaten Las Vegas Aces one time in 9 years. For those who do not know that statistic, we've only beaten them once in 9 years. Their defense is impenetrable. We have 28 points in the paint for the second quarter. We are shooting 90% from the field in the second quarter. This is insane.
When you get two opposing coaches in the same game, essentially co-signing that the referees are incompetent, one by calling it a rugby scrum, the other by drawing a technical on purpose, that's no longer a matter of debate. It's an undeniable indictment. The officials failed spectacularly, and everyone in that arena knew it. Worse, this wasn't just an isolated night. That level of shared outrage didn't materialize out of nowhere. It was the product of an entire season's worth of mounting frustrations finally boiling over under the brightest possible lights. Because for weeks, behind the scenes, this storm's been brewing. Off camera, there's been a steadily growing belief, reportedly from players, coaches, and execs alike, that WNBA officiating has become wildly inconsistent, that refs have lost the ability, or maybe the will, to control overly physical play, that the standard of enforcement changes from one game to the next. Think about Hammond's rugby comment. That wasn't some offhand burn. It was the core of the entire crisis. It's not just about missed foul calls. It's about the total inability to rein in the rough stuff, which stifles offense and massively ups the risk of injury. Players are privately saying the league has allowed these contests to become brutal slogs, where the rulebook is treated more like a suggestion. And this fight isn't new for Stephanie White. She's been waging war against this mess all season long. Earlier this year, she was already fined by the league for publicly torching the refs. That technical foul the other night? That wasn't a first strike. It was the continuation of her full-on campaign to hold the league accountable for protecting its athletes. So why did it all explode in this game? Simple. The stage. This wasn't some Tuesday night undercard. This was the two-time defending champs with the reigning MVP facing off against the WNBA's hottest draw, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Every camera was rolling, every big-name analyst was watching, and every fan had eyes locked on the court. And under that glaring spotlight, the officiating didn't just bend, it snapped. That egregious over-the-back jump ball from Asia Wilson on Lexie Hull was so painfully obvious, so indisputable, that it became the perfect smoking gun. The visual evidence that finally pulled the lid off all those private complaints echoing around locker rooms and bus rides. It was the flashpoint that transformed months of whispered discontent into the dominant public conversation. The outrage that had been building under the surface suddenly had a viral moment, and it was a moment the league couldn't just quietly scrub off the internet. So how exactly are the players calling out the league? Because here's the thing, it's not always through spicy post-game interviews or cryptic tweets. Often, the clearest protest is in their body language, their micro-reactions on the floor. Start with Lexie Hull. On that infamous play, she executed everything perfectly. Tough, smart, fundamental basketball, exactly what coaches beg for. And her reward? To have the refs punish her for doing it right while rewarding Wilson's blatant foul. Her immediate stunned face, her hands thrown up, said everything. What else can I possibly do? That right there is a silent but deafening indictment. Then look at Caitlin Clark. She wasn't even on the floor when that fiasco happened, but she was living every second of it from the bench. Coaching up teammates, pacing like a caged lion, erupting after buckets. And when White got whistled for that tech, Caitlin practically sprinted over to celebrate it with her teammates. That was no random high five. That was Clark giving her coach a massive public endorsement for standing up to the officiating. That is one of the biggest stars in global sports looking at the refs and saying, yes, this protest is overdue. We're all fed up. Many of you watching have been breaking this down for weeks on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. You've spotted the exact same exasperated looks to the refs after another missed whistle, the increasingly harder fouls needed just to get a call, the visible droop in shoulders after fiascos like the Wilson jump ball. That is all part of the same silent scream. If you agree that the players' reactions spelled out exactly how broken this system is, smash that like button. Because that collective nonverbal outrage has now created a deafening roar that the league office can't pretend not to hear. Which brings us to the bottom line. The WNBA has landed itself in a credibility nightmare, and it's entirely self-inflicted. For months, they've apparently chosen to ignore growing warnings from inside their own locker rooms. Let it fester, hope it dies down. Now, it's blown up in their faces. This problem doesn't just have rumors swirling around it anymore. It has a face, it has a nickname, Whistle Wilson, and it has gone viral in ways they can't control. The real story of this game wasn't just a signature win for Indiana. It was the shattering public unveiling of a league-wide crisis. Because now, the collective fury of players, coaches, and fans has drawn a line in the sand. The WNBA can't stay silent. That silence would be read as a guilty verdict, an admission that they know the system's rigged and aren't willing to fix it. So what needs to change? Is it more rigorous training for refs? Harsher penalties for consistent botches? Overhauling how the officiating crews are graded? Let us know in the comments what you think is priority number one, because trust us, we'll be tracking every ripple of fallout from this mess. The more eyes on this fiasco, the more the league has to face up and finally protect players like Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and the Indiana Fever from seeing their hard work torpedoed by suspect whistles. Let them know every single one of us is watching. What do you think of the corrupt referees and Whistle Wilson? Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.